Okay, today is heliocentric as astrology. It's a radical branch. It's a new way. We're just going to have a number of series of presentations to bring about it. And have you ever had your value system suddenly changed and have everything changed and try and find yourself again? Well, heliocentric astrology is kind of like that. Okay, so just going to do this. Okay, so I'm going to start with a Rosicrucian drawing with the rose and the cross because it has an astrological code and astrological symbolism for it. Its whole teaching is astrological. The heart is in the center of the cross. That's the rose. The cross is your angles of your horoscope. The ascendant, the MC, and the IC. The zodiac is put around it, and then the planets are put in between. So the idea here, it represents an evolution of being. We're born in our physical world. We're born in what our physical desires, our experiences, and we're born in the elements. And we can evolve and grow. So really we're caught between the earthly world and the heavenly world. The heavenly world's God's world. The earthly world's God's worlds too, really. But it's the two sides, and we're caught between the two. And we're trying to figure out how we look to astrology for guide. And the planets are also caught between the heavens and the earth. But they're higher up and they're closer to the heavens, so they become the representative of the heaven. They're influenced by the heavenly energies, by the signs, as they affect the planets as they come down and put their energy into the world. So most of us learn astrology. You memorize the 12 houses, and everything gets put into the houses, and everything happens in the houses, and that's for astrology. Everybody's just an add-on. That's the basic cross. The reason the bottom of the cross is so long is there's much more depth at the IC than there is height at the MC. Okay, so this is the inner teaching. And the idea was you have to be crucified to the things you like and to the worldly comforts and worldly things you like before you can begin to hear the higher light or higher energy. And the planets are the different levels of consciousness that you go in, that you develop in this process of coming to the light and coming to be aligned to the heavenly energies. So this is in the Rosicrucian cross. It's so beautifully astrological. So it's a message for people, but it's also a message for astrologers. It's an evolutionary process. We grow through our houses, but if you just stay in the houses and interpret that all your life, you're stuck at a certain level of interpreting astrology. It's a very mundane level. You're supposed to elevate through the planets up to different levels of consciousness until you can begin to see the signs and the heavenly energies coming down, affecting it. So in a simple astrology way, the planets are the energies. They're colored by the signs they're in, the directive energy into the affairs of the houses. But we don't have to be stuck just watching the house effects. It ends up being more of a mystery as you go along. So this was the teachings that have been in Christianity and Western teaching, Western mysticism, going back thousands and thousands of years. This was the inner teachings. And it's, so you have when you see a cross, you're crucified in life. You're drawn and quartered into the four directions of life. You're pulled out into the world, into everything you're not. It's not going to last too long. Sooner or later you're going to die. You'll get crucified anyways, and you'll end up in your higher spirit anyway. So the higher spirit's going to win no matter what. But we can consciously evolve through this. So there's a consciousness for people, just in terms of living, but for astrologers, the ability to evolve astrology from one level, not just, I learned this 12 houses, everything else too complicated, I'll just stay here and work with it. A lot of astrology is done just on that level. It's not wrong. It works that way. But that's not spiritual astrology. That's not necessarily going to get someone closer to their heart. It can help you to get your affairs in the world together, your houses and your life together, to be ready for higher understanding. which is going to come before 100 years is up anyways, you're going to get there. Being there in advance makes you more conscious and makes you more aware of this is a healing thing. So, okay, how you see it, there's just a picture of the dome with a person above it. So above the cross is like above the horizon, the conscious world above us. And below, just below. Now, I use this drawing because this is an Islamic drawing. This is a drawing that was made to represent the astronomy in the Quran. And in this process, they have the planets, but they talk about the planets as spheres, not just as planetary focuses going around on a plane. They represent spheres of consciousness. And this concept of spheres is really useful. It helps us to understand heliocentric astrology as we come to it. But even basic astrology is based on these spheres. A sphere within a sphere within a sphere within a sphere. Yeah, so that's just it together. I'm going through this a little fast, but just we have the rising, the setting halves of the chart, the subjective below, the objective above. It's the base across of life. It's the way we're pulled in. Our soul comes in, and we get this. Then the signs come around it, and you can see the signs as they're above or below. Of course, depending on the time you're born, they twist to each other. But you still have, this is a basic. They had it written in words around the cross. I just put it as a drawing around so you could see the signs. And so here's where most of our astrology starts. We put the 12 houses in. We got the 24 hours a day, 12 2-hour periods of a day. And what happens each day? We got our houses. Then you put the planets in. I'll sit down, please. Then you put the planets in it. And the planets will be distributed around us as they are at the moment you're born. Then you add the aspects. And you have the basic horoscope that most people use. You know, you graduate a little bit to see the influence of a sign affecting planet or something as it comes in, but you're dumping it into the house. Oh, that's the money house, so that's the relationship house, so that's this. And we interpret it very mundanely like this. But that's one part of astrology. Then there's the signs of the zodiac and the colors and the whole light coming from the sun and the seasons of the year. We're not looking at just the daily factors, we jump up to the yearly factors. We're taking a quantum jump. And on this chart, you put the planets on it. You put the aspects in it. So there's, it's really, your horoscope is two circles, like a left eye and a right eye. One is the houses and one is the signs. They weren't supposed to be together. They're put together on the same circle because a circle is a circle. But by doing that, everyone starts saying, oh, the sign is like the house is like this, and everybody's correspondence between, really they're two separate circles. The logic of getting through a day is different than the logic of getting through the year. And this is the heavenly and the worldly circumstances. And here's the planets, the different layers of the planets. So each planet's like a chakra or a center. And we're growing from our physical, we come out of our mom. You know, come out of our backyard. We run into the rest of the world. And it's never what we expect it to be. But in this process of coming out of our mom, we start to have feelings. We get our physical experiences, hot, cold, wet, dry. Then we get our memories. Then we start making sense out of it, making connections between what's happening. Then we're trying to see what we make choices of what we like and what we don't like. And then we get our confidence, or lack of confidence. And with that, we act or we don't act, and we understand. Then we learn or we don't learn what we've done. And then we accomplish things we've accomplished things with what we've done with our life. So that's the steps of going up through the planets as we go through them. So this is the different chakras and energies going up. And in the East, you would normally have the meditative person with the chakras, and you have the chakras. And once you get the enlightenment of the chakras, this one has a mental centering for the chakras. I tend to think the centering is in the sun or in the heart, but this is and then when you get enlightened, you can begin to see the 7 rays, the rays of the colors of the energies. the 7 rays are the planets, are the energies expressed in a different way than words. Just like colors are the signs of the zodiac. And if you understand a sign of zodiac, you understand the meaning of a color. The same thing, but we don't have it all connected easily. Okay, so this would be the action. There's the houses, there's the signs, there's the chakras building up on it. It's kind of like this, you have what's above your head, what's below your feet, and you have your spinal cord. And each of the centers in the spinal cord coming back. So when we look at a chart, we usually turn it, we're looking flat at it as a circle. As a two-dimensional thing, we're reading these connections into between the things rather than stretching it out like an accordion, putting it up, and getting the three-dimensional hit of it. So in 1500s, with the Renaissance, they had a lot of these type of drawings. You see the Earth is in the center, then there's the elements around the Earth. Well, you can't see this from you can't see my pointer. Okay. So they have the Earth, then they put the elements around. And then after the elements, they put the Moon, then Mercury, then Venus, then Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Then the stars in the firmament. God put the stars in the firmament. So this was the image around it. But really, we've always interpreted it linearly. This is the association to the speeds of the planets. But they were used to teach it as spheres. You have a sphere of your physical being, your magnetism. You have a sphere of your memory and your feelings. You have a sphere of your intellect, which is subtler, but includes the memory, but is a bit bigger and subtler. Then you have a sphere of your emotional nature, which includes the mental, but has a little bit more light spreading out a little further. And then, if those come in place and aren't causing this, and not so attached to the world, you find the sphere of the sun or the soul. Once you have the soul, you have the light guidance, and it's easy to make correct actions, good understanding, and right accomplishments. But these were represented as spheres, as the best as they could put in those days. Just another example. This one you can see the 4 elements, and they put angels in there. In the Arabic world, the planet, like in Greek mythology, these planets are gods. In the Arabic world, there's only one god, and the planets work by virtue of jinns or angels. If you're living right, you have the angelic presence of the planets that reach you and watch over you. If you're not, you get the genies, you get the gems, and you deserve what you get. So the work is to stay clear in the sun. But this was more Christian one, but it builds up, and the symbols are there. But Mercury, Venus, Sun, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. We just build them up, and then the heavenly beings above it. So it's very simple to look at. But these were codes that were used to initiate people or to teach people deeper things within it. And it was astrological, but it was more than astrological.